Welcome to another episode of the Wood Couture podcast. Today I have the privilege to welcome to the Wood Couture Global HQ here in Dubai my very dear friend Bani Haddad, founder and managing director of Aleph Hospitality. Welcome to the show, Bani.
Thank you, Filippo. Good to be here. Thank you.
I smile because I'm happy.
You always smile.
I'm smiling and I'm happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
For the friends that do not know Bani, which is a mistake not knowing Bani, 25 years in the hospitality industry, but so mainly this region, I would say.
Yeah, about 15 years here. 15 years here, yeah.
Working with big giants like Wyndham and Dream Hotel Group, and since 2015, Aleph Powerhouse.
Correct,
right?
correct, yeah.
And going strong. I was chatting earlier about, your progress, which is great, but we get to that. Now, the curiosity is great. We want to know your journey. Why hospitality? Where did it all started?
Well, first of all, thank you for a very nice introduction. Listen, I've started quite early in the hospitality industry. I was about 18 years old, coming originally from a country where hospitality is in the DNA of most of the people, Lebanon. And I was naturally, directed or attracted by this industry. At the time, in 1993, the country was just getting out of war, and hospitality was still not, in terms of hotels, very developed, mature. So I wanted to venture in this. A couple of my connections, talked a lot about it, and I was lucky enough to be able to go and study abroad. So I went to France and studied there hospitality, and I worked there, stayed there for 10 years, and then moved on to companies. I worked with Starwood in France and operational roles, worked with Accor. And I spent quite a number of years with a very exciting company, one of the giants, Disneyland, where I had a number of roles there during my years. And what is interesting, Filippo, for me, which ultimately led to creating and founding Aleph, was that in each of these roles, after my MBA at EMI Cornell, there was a kind of a common thread, which was each role was almost an entrepreneurial role, a creation of a job. Whether it's at Disney or with, when I moved to Dubai, it was with a company who had the master franchise of Holiday Inn Express. So we started it. I was the first employee here, and then. At Wyndham, I opened the office for Wyndham, and we started something. And, when I left, we had 49 operating hotels, more than 20 in the pipeline. So that common thread of, starting something new, coupled with the passion for people, I think, whether it's the guests, the team members, the employees, all kind of converged to reading a little bit the market and seeing, okay, now it was time for, offering a different type of hospitality management, hotel management, an alternative way. And that's how we created Aleph Hospitality. And today I own the company with Neil George, who's another industry veteran in the region. Listen, we're doing extremely well. We operate 10 hotels now, and we have a pipeline of about 15. First quarter of 2022, this year, we're in the process now of opening 3 hotels, and we're very confident that we're going to end up the year with 17 to 19 operational properties. So, yeah.
So if I ask your wife, how
Don't ask her anything.
With your permission, obviously, how is Bani? Who is Bani as a person? Three characteristics.
You'll probably have to ask her. That's a tough one. I'm a people's person, that's for sure. So I care a lot about individuals, and that's something which really is very, you can sense it in the company today. And there are a couple of things I always say. First of all, to recruit someone, the first, filter is it someone that I can go and have a drink with? If I cannot, then we're not going to, no matter how a star he is technically or professionally, So because we need to have this connection, that's the first thing. The second thing, which I always repeat, is we don't let our people down. So even in very difficult periods, which if we take the last couple of years with COVID, my first message to all our hotel employees was, we don't let our people down. Okay, you're all, even if we're shutting down the hotels, we are going to make everything possible for you to receive something so you can feed your families at the end of the month. And that's what we did. We actually, as a company, gave up to half of our earned and unpaid and future fees from the hotels to pay back, the employees their salaries during the periods when the hotel was shut down. So definitely someone who's caring, clearly, ambition with big plans. So that's, I think, something that I hope to pass on also to my kids. Listen, I don't know about the third one, but good looking. my wife would say good looking.
But one of the biggest things I admire about you is that in all these years, even in my previous life as a consultant, you never had a bad word for no one. Even for the one that you knew or don't know that it was an obvious case, you never had a bad word from anybody. You never had, you never talked badly about no one. Even probably people that to you as an operator, losing out or say, oh, they are not good, but you never had a bad word. You always been fair and polite and professional with everyone, even in a back of house chat. And I admire that because, nowadays there's a lot of people that are ready to jump off and judge. You never judge anybody.
Thank you. Yeah, listen, again,
really
we care. That's the most important thing, right? Especially in our industry. We no matter when you look at the hospitality industry, no matter how you turn, all the constituents are people who need attention, who need to feel that you're credible, they can trust you. So whether it's the guest, whether it's the employee, whether it's the investor, you need to have this relationship, this strong human relation with everyone. And it's also, no matter how big the industry, it's actually very small, right? So one day or another, today you're a competitor, tomorrow, someone is buying another one and you become colleagues and
Very true. Now, in your journey, in your career at various companies, has there been somebody that has been your mentor, somebody that you picked a lot, the style, the know-how?
There were always, like anyone, I guess, a number of people who really I tried to follow their footsteps. But I'm getting very, very close to my 50s, and so I'm reaching this age where I'm starting to seeing things differently. So there are a lot of people I can thank, and in previous interviews and articles I did. So there are great people like Eric Danziger, who was the president of Wyndham, Jan Kaye, who was the CEO of Disney and Accor. There are certain general managers I worked with when I was young who were really inspiring. But, as I'm now in this period of my life, I'm going to tell you something. I'm more and more inspired by people who not necessarily have great positions, but sometimes, we meet so many investors and they tell us about their journey, how they started with, selling eggs on the road, selling flights to their friends, and then they become these giant companies, massive companies, and they remain extremely humble. The people who inspire me, who have had personal difficulties, family tragedies, but then they still come to work to make a living with a big, massive smile. And today, that's what inspires me the most. These people who, overcome challenges or make something big from very little. That's today where I am in my period of life.
Do you know what? I think that's the story of Lebanon. I see a lot of Lebanese friends, and colleagues and industry peers, that it's a lot. As I always said, the country as a whole, and you guys went through from a war to the worst happening like the last 2 years, the bombs and this and that.
But you see this,
You stand up, you move on, and you got big boys like the guy in Mexico. It's
true,
multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
I mean, the chairman of Nissan, the boom, big boys. Shalhu Binia, big guys.
Absolutely,
You guys go a DNA which is bulletproof.
No, but listen, and I wasn't referring to only to the Lebanese. Of course, you have amazing, but in our day to day, you have people here from Dubai who have you have amazing stories. We have employees in our hotels in Africa who you just want to sit and say, how do you do it with all the difficulties that you have? How do you come and keep going on, smiling, providing amazing guest service? You look at other investors, they tell you their journey, how their parents immigrated somewhere and then they started literally. I mean, one of them just now, I keep on thinking about this story, but, walking 4 kilometers for years selling eggs, and then they started growing the business, others selling bicycles, it's unbelievable. And these are the stories of, I think, boils down probably to perseverance, and people who really want to make a change. And any story around this today is, for me, extremely inspiring and set an example.
Yeah, but it's fantastic to hear these stories because these are the real business.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Is there any lesson of life that you learn or something that you did wrong that say, that changed my life or changed the way I'm doing things? Your best failures?
Well, best failures is probably not having been fair to some people, probably in some stories. So that and again it comes back maybe to the people aspect, but it always at one point or another, what goes around comes around, and sometimes you say, maybe I overreacted, or so. I'm very emotional by nature, and sometimes I overreact. And clearly, some of these failures or setbacks or things I regret were clearly based on this aspect of me, overreacting to certain situations. But privilege of the age, I'm getting over this. So.
Do you think you reach a midlife crisis? You will do something crazy?
Midlife crisis is 40, right? So I'm beyond this. I'm beyond this now.
You got the badge. And I wanted to ask you is, now that you are a businessman, is your way of thinking differently? For sure. What do you do differently you didn't do before?
Many things, and as a hospitality individual, I was working for brands and hotel brands all my life, and even when we were managing hotels, compared to how we manage hotels now, is completely different. Why? Because a couple of reasons, and the main one is because, as you said, today we own the business. It's our money. It's our fate, but also that allowed us directly to align ourselves with the owners and the investors in these hotels. But because all of a sudden we're not protecting the interest of a brand or which is, we were doing our jobs and there's nothing wrong in that. But aligning yourself with the interest of the business without having any other potential conflict of interest is probably the major change in my professional life, at least. That's the major one. But the other thing, which change, I'm not sure if my wife is happy with that, is you probably start working much longer. One of the first motivation of every entrepreneur is to say, I'll manage my own time, I can do what I want. But then you end up, if you're really committed to your business, and I'm sure you know this, you'll end up working much, much more. So for that, listen, I think I'm grateful to have a family like I have, a wife like the one I have, because, I always say in the journey of an entrepreneur, if you don't have the social support, the family support, then something is missing, and you're increasing your risks to failure, basically.
Imagine, you brought up something interesting, in the subject family and also wife. You mentioned wife, and like we all have, and in the subject of gender equality. How does it make you feel when you hear stories about people that look at women like a commodity, not necessarily valuable? What goes through your mind?
Listen, I have 2 daughters, and it would kill me, if. Once they reach the age of looking for a job, someone wouldn't consider them because they're a woman, because I know that they are as capable as anyone else. So I've made it a point to keep as much equality as possible in our company. Actually, we have appointed our first female general managers 2 years ago, right before COVID, in Africa, for the Ramada in Addis Ababa. That we were very proud of this hire, and we have one of the first employees actually who joined Aleph, our VP marketing at the time when we created Aleph, Rose Money. Female. So when we've kept it today, we have 3 female, very senior in human resources, PR marketing, and the office management. So we're looking to hire more. So right before we started, we were discussing, us looking for a development individual. And, I was, just before coming here, I was telling Neil, maybe, the best thing for us is to focus on having a woman, because in many ways, I feel that they are more capable in certain, and establishing connection, maintaining relationships, going after, what they want, so we're all for this. We support this. Honestly, I would hate the fact if someone goes and tells my daughters, or insinuates that they should be paid less or not get the job because they're women. So the reality is today we don't have written policies, and I'm actually against having written policies on that subject, because I just feel this, once you start writing something like that you're creating already a sense of inequality. But listen, we're as an organization, we've demonstrated a number of times in all of our hotels to try and maintain the equality. So that's a very important subject.
Now, when you were in the previous job, just before Aleph, at what point did you decide to say, what, I have enough. Now is the time that I'm going to do.
Yeah.
What sparked that?
Yeah, I think I probably, as I told you, with all the positions that I had, there was always something new. So with Wyndham specifically, I opened the office here, started it, first year I was working from home, there was no office, up until, we started picking up, etc. So, and 8 years after the business stabilized, the company became, very part of a very large corporate, and we started functioning as a part of a very large corporate company. And that started, decreasing my interest in such a function. But most importantly, Filippo, it is the market need in what made me start thinking, okay, now is the time to create an independent management company in the region. One, as a company, Wyndham, we wanted to franchise. We were primarily franchising, right? We were not always finding the right operators, but I knew that most of the other brands also wanted to franchise. But there was again no independent, properly fully fledged setup operator in the region who can run a Wyndham, a Four Points, a Novotel. There wasn't any. And that's really, and I was seeing that, listen, the market is maturing in the US, in Europe. All of these markets went through the same cycle. Today, independent third-party operators are 70% of the hotels are managed under this model in the US, 72%. In Europe, it's about 35%, and it's increasing. So it is bound to come to this part of the world. I can start feeling the change. It's the time to do it. I want to be the first. I want to have the first mover's advantage. And, you have to take the jump.
Do you think that you being quite pioneering, you saw the opportunity coming and you took it at the right time?
Listen, it depends. A few people tried, and I think did and tried. It probably some companies came and established themselves in Africa, for example, from Europe, from the UK. They just didn't succeed. What Aleph has, I think, is one, patience. It's an industry, we're not into trading. You know this business very well. We're not the hospital. We're not into trading in the sense that you need to invest a lot for a long time before you start seeing some revenues. And even when you start seeing the revenues coming in, these are management contracts which are for the long term. So your yearly revenues from one hotel are not enough to sustain a company, right? So I went in and I knew that I needed to sustain for 3-4 years at least before start to build the pipeline for the hotels to open, to generate enough cash. So one, people who didn't have enough patience, I think, didn't succeed. The second element, I think, was having the right people on board with me, people who believed in the project, people who believed that we could succeed, and that's what the market needs. Now, could we have done it 2 or 3 years later and saved some money? Maybe. But I don't regret. I think it was the perfect timing. Some people say you were a bit too early, but I think if we didn't do it at that time, we wouldn't have gained the momentum we have now. And today we're the leading independent hotel management company in the Middle East and Africa. And I don't think we would have achieved this if we hadn't started back in 2015, So
when you thought about setting up Aleph, obviously, there's like any business, you've got a million things to think about it.
Yeah.
Is there something you say, oops, I should have thought better or differently? That later on, eventually, you realize that it wasn't quite right.
Yeah, listen, you make a lot of mistakes. So whether it is in terms of investments, first of all, you probably tend to spend money initially on things which don't necessarily generate revenues or have a direct impact on the business. But especially for someone who's coming from a corporate environment, so it takes time to adapt a little bit to the entrepreneurial startup mode. So you want things to function like a corporate company. So I would say maybe certain initial investments were not 100%, could have been avoided probably, but that's okay. Certain elements of how I dealt maybe with potential clients as well. Again, not having the 100% humble attitude of a startup, but trying to replicate the corporate big American company attitude or style of doing business. So it could have maybe avoided me or helped me win more contracts at the early stages if I haven't tried to replicate this. But generally speaking, it went okay. Listen, you always have the chance. It's quite a dynamic market, Middle East and Africa. We have really great connections, great relationships, and it helped us go through this very, I would say, relatively smoothly, save for the COVID period, which was a big hit for everyone. But otherwise, we're quite pleased with the trajectory that we took.
When you started this, the very moment that, you got your name, your company sorted and that, which is the big dream that you have in your mind?
The big
have dreams.
Yeah.
What is the biggest dream for Aleph?
Being the leading hotel management company in the Middle East and Africa, and that still is. And
you already are.
Well, we're the leading independent.
And how big is this dream?
Listen, no, the dream is much bigger. So we're operating 10 hotels now, and our goal is by end of 2025 or mid 2026 to have a minimum of 50 operating hotels. That's our goal. Now, if you take the geography where we operate, I'm always telling the team, listen, if Africa alone has 56, 57 countries, you add the Middle East, if we manage to secure one hotel in each of these countries, right, we're set. How difficult can it be? Now, that's a simplistic way of looking at it, you might tell me. But the reality is, every time, Filippo, we're entering a market, we start with one hotel and then immediately we start multiplying it. Why? Because people see us, they see the good job we're doing, we establish strong local relationships. And in our business model, the independent third-party operator, this is the key, having foot on the ground, understanding the local market, having the right relationships. So you take Ethiopia, we started with one. Now we have 3 and another 3 in the pipeline. Kenya, we started with 1. We have 4 operating now, with another 3 in the pipeline, etc., etc. Every country we enter, we're multiplying. So we maintain our goal of keeping our position as the leading independent hotel management company in the region. That's my dream.
Is it fair to say that you started by managing in the most complex markets, like Africa, in terms of maturity and so forth? So for you, managing in UAE, Saudi, and that is probably an easier task. Would you say?
Well, it is, and it is not only because we are managing in much more difficult environments, but it is much easier because, coming to think of it, Aleph Hospitality is a Dubai-born company. We are based here, as you mentioned at the beginning. I've spent most of my professional career here now, over 15 years here. So is Neil, so is the rest of our team members. We've all had a lot of experience in the Middle East and in Dubai specifically. And we've operated hotels here previously. So we understand the market. We are from here. Aleph is a Dubai company. So that makes it easy for us. Now, of course, you add to it now our additional experience of managing in difficult markets, remote, whether from a supply chain, whether from a labor perspective, etc., and or security, political instability, etc., in Africa. That makes it heaven here for us.
Obviously, you sit in between, next to the owner, and let's say on one side, and then on the other side you've got the hotel operator, which is
the hotel brand.
Hotel brand, yes, hotel brand. Yeah, true, very true. Yeah, this is very easy because you see, there's also misconception.
It is. Yeah.
So you have a brand there, you are the operator, and then there is the owner on this side. What would you say is the challenge for an operator nowadays? The main challenges.
An operator or a brand?
An
operator. The challenge depends on.
You are an operator.
Yes. So it depends. Listen, it depends on the geography, of course. There are a number of challenges today, following COVID, or as we're exiting COVID in the Middle East, one of the main challenges is going to be sourcing team members. Europe is already feeling it. What happened, unfortunately, and I hope our industry will learn from this. What happened is because of many hotels and restaurants shut down, they let go most of their staff who left for other opportunities in different industries. And, now that the hospitality is opening back again, they don't want to come back. So this is going to be definitely a challenge. Reattracting, retraining people to provide the proper service for the guests. That's definitely one. The second challenge that I continue to see since a number of years now continues to be distribution, and how brands and operators are always going to be challenged versus the online travel agencies. That continues to be the case, and questioning whether do you really need a brand or an operator where anyway your hotel can be filled by someone else, and it's someone who's taking the business from you and putting it in you. So that's still clearly a challenge. And the latest, the final one, I think, is innovation, and how is the hotel industry going to innovate itself, its processes, and not only from a technological aspect, but also from a human aspect, from a security aspect, from an environmental, social, all of these areas need to be innovated, changed, so we keep up with the other industries. So what we have done at Aleph Hospitality, I don't know if you know this, but we've created an innovation lab. Okay. And what we're doing is we did the first round, and we've called startups, and what we wanted to come and work. And so we're going to provide them a number of things. We're going to provide them office space, meeting rooms, the entire admin infrastructure. That's one thing. We're going to provide them marketing, PR support. We're going to provide them the access, most importantly, to our hotels, so they can launch and test their products in our hotels. We're going to provide them, support and financial business modeling as well, and some time from Neil and myself to coach them. And there are 5 areas where we said, we want innovation companies to come, and we're going to give you all these guys. We're not asking for anything, just come. One is, of course, artificial intelligence. As long as any of these innovation has an application in the travel and tourism industry, we want you to come. So, and you will benefit from all of the things I've mentioned. So artificial intelligence, of course, is one of the areas. We have also food and beverage, but we also have social innovation and human resources or employee satisfaction innovation, and sustainability, of course. So these 5 areas, we identified them as extremely important for our industry, and areas we need really to help not only Aleph, but the entire industry, to move forward. So we've started, we've had a lot of interest from Dubai-based, companies or startups. We've had a lot of interest from hospitality schools in Europe, and some other places as well. And so we're really pleased to offer this for people. We've had our first round. We've selected already 2 startups, and we're going to launch a second round to onboard now a few more. So,
well, that's a great idea, but I guess all your owner will benefit from this.
Absolutely, yes.
Bring innovation to drive bottom line.
We're going to benefit from it because they're going to test. But so for us, there are a number of benefits. Of course, our hotels will hopefully benefit from these new products and services. It also brings to our culture as a company this innovation aspect, which is very important, because everyone in the company is involved in helping them in one way or another, giving them some perspective. So it keeps us in a way on our toes, and of course the guys, the startups, imagine from one day to another, you, Filippo, you have a startup, and I come, I have 10 hotels, you can launch it. I'm not asking you for anything. There's no bid going on. There's no negotiation. Just come, launch it, test it. The general managers, the teams will give you feedback to adjust, etc. Then tomorrow, when you want to sell it, you can go and say, I already have it in 10 hotels. Imagine that's an amazing.
It is a true collaborative business model.
Yeah,
which is great. Now, how you're a businessman now, right? And obviously, at the same time, you are an operator and an hotelier. You are all under one roof. And how do you make sure that all your owners get your attention, your time?
Well, that's the promise number one we make to our owners, is that we are extremely approachable, and that's the beauty of a human-sized company. So, you see, our goal in 5 years is to have around 50 operating properties. So we will always remain a human-sized organization. And why people are coming to work or choosing us as an operator is because we are very approachable. We are available all the time. And, we don't have big boards and processes, etc. They go, they visit their hotels, there's something they don't like, or they have a comment, or, they just pick up the phone and call us, We've also done something which is really great, up to my knowledge, doesn't exist in the industry. We've created an Aleph Hospitality app, which gives our owners immediate access to what's going on in their hotels. So they just open the app, they can see what performance yesterday, the month before, etc., in terms of occupancy, revenue, rates, etc., the hotel achieved. They can see the forecast for the next 3 months. They can see the guest satisfaction comments. They can see what the competition is doing. So we've put most of the elements, or if not all, their P&L. They can see it just by sitting. He's having a coffee. He can just open the app, look at the numbers of his hotel. And then, listen, we travel a lot. We're very close personally to our owners. And similarly to our first filter of employing someone saying, can I go have a drink with him? It is also true for our hotel investors and owners. If we can't feel that we are able to go and have lunch or dinner or drinks with them, it makes it difficult for us. And the reason is, you've done this much more than I did, Filippo. You know that, and there's everyone says, hotel management agreement is like a marriage, right? It's a long-term relationship. We're talking about 15, 20 years. And in these 15, 20 years, anyone who tells you that the relationship will always be perfect every single day of these 15 years is a liar. So, but the fundamentals have to be there. And for us, if we don't feel that the day we have an issue with this specific owner, we can resolve it, and he will accept that we will make mistakes. I'm not saying we are perfect. We will make mistakes in 15 years, but he will also make things which, we will not be happy with. If we are not close enough to bridge these gaps or to overcome these challenges, then there's no point of having a deal or a business relationship. So these are the fundamentals of the relationship. So always available. We travel a lot. We make it a point to go and see them physically, have meetings with them, if not once a month, but at least once a quarter. That's extremely important for us.
What is something that you will never compromise?
What is something?
That you will never compromise?
Oh, ethics. Be transparent, ethical. That is our, kind of guiding principle.
Responsible? What about sustainability? What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, Listen, again, I mentioned it, part of the social responsibility, environmental. So we that's something which is very important. We've completed now an internal program. So we're coming up with our Aleph environmental, guidelines. We've realized that, we work with branded hotels, but we also have a portfolio of unbranded hotels. Now, the internationally branded hotels will always have some directives from the international brands, which we have to follow. But the non-branded ones don't have anything. So we've created something which can be adapted for all of these hotels, and that's something which we're launching actually next month.
So if I give you a marker, what message would you write on this screen for everybody out there?
It depends on the audience, but I'll probably, I'm in the mood of perseverance these days.
Never give up.
Never give up,
I love that.
Yeah.
Bani, as I always said at the very beginning, you are an absolute gentleman.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it. I can stay here all day. But
thank you. I appreciate it,
Filippo.
Filippo.
Big business to run. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.